Good morning and welcome, dear Dharma teachers and friends, to the second day of Buddhist Global Relief, anchoring our lives in the Dharma retreat. My name is Kim Bihen and I'm on the staff team of Buddhist Global Relief. We are very happy to have all of you here with us this morning. I would like to share a few details about the retreat. You are muted on entry because this is a large event. If you have any questions, please use the chat function and a member of our team will respond. To begin today's session, Patty Price, our Deputy Director, will share a welcome and introduction to BGR. Patty, welcome.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, Patty.
Okay, good morning. Can people see this?
Now we see it.
Oh, good. Thank you. Well, good morning. And I know for some of you it is very early morning. I wanted to just give you the opportunity to learn a little bit about some of our projects. As you can see, we fund on average about 65 projects now. We've definitely grown from the beginning when we funded 3 in the first year of our existence. So today we're going to look at 3 different projects, one here in the US, one in Africa, and one in India. We are thrilled to have chosen Keep Growing Detroit as one of our first US, actually our very first US partner. We did determine several years ago that hunger exists right here in the United States as well as in developing countries. And Keep Growing Detroit jumped out at us as a really exceptional organization in a city that had been devastated and largely abandoned. And those who couldn't afford to leave were left behind with the absence of grocery stores, many services, city services, and confidence in their own abilities to continue to thrive. Keep Growing Detroit began in 2006. Next slide. This is some of the board members and staff. They are smack dab in the middle of Detroit. They had been renting this plot of land for several years, and a year ago were able to purchase it, meaning they're now going to be able to plant fruit trees, things that take years to mature. They don't have to worry about that land being that lease not being renewed and the land being developed. They have over 2,000 home and community gardeners this year or this past year, and 664 of them were new members. Next slide. This is a lot of detail, but man, they're such an amazing organization. I had to share it. 23,000, almost 24,000 people were supported through their garden programs in this past, in 2021/22 year. There are 2,015 urban gardens and farms in Detroit now. 664 were new gardeners in 2021. The majority of their gardeners have been with them for over 3 years, continuing on. 168 in-person and online events were held. These are cooking classes, nutrition classes, introduction to various plants for medicinal uses. So despite what was happening with COVID and them having different days of the week that people could come and pick things up, or that they were doing deliveries, they also reached out to Detroiters with these online classes. They distributed 45,000 seed packets and over 220,000 transplants with garden members. These seed packets were put together and the transplants started right at their home garden, the little urban farm that they have. And then a makeup of how the membership is. 68% of their members are family gardens, 25% community gardens, 6.5% are school gardens, and 4.5% market gardens, gardens that individuals are growing and getting the produce, selling their produce, their grown in Detroit produce, to markets where then shoppers can purchase it. Next slide. Then we're going to go on to Africa. This is Cameroon and widows and single mothers empowerment and vocational training. You could give me the next slide, please, George. And I'll just add a little insider note that the women chosen for this program that are single women, most of them have children. These women had been what one would consider the lowest social class. Many of them were prostitutes, and others were physically abused women who were basically uneducated, and yet they had children and they were doing whatever they needed to do just to make some money to be able to feed their children. So they are now participants in this wonderful program, giving them marketable skills. Next slide, please. We're serving 450 marginalized women. That's the polite term for the situation these women have come out of. They're getting meals, social empowerment, including education on what their human and legal rights are as citizens in Cameroon. They're receiving the vocational training to allow them to generate income. And those trainings include sewing, gardening, and computer skills. And they're eligible to participate in long-term counseling support. So they're getting the training, and then the project also eases them into making things that they are now able to sell. Next slide. This is one of the workshop classes for them, learning how to sew. And the fact that they're doing all of this together, the emotional support, the friendships, the network that they make together ensures success. It's not a one-off, you're on your own, here's how you sew, now do it. They are able to continue using their skills and producing items together in the workshop. Next slide. And in Asia, we're going to visit Mahabodhi in Diun, India. This is a children's hostel. Most of these children are orphans, or they're the children of families who could not afford to feed the children or provide an education for them. We've partnered with them for just a few years now. And a slide, please. 245 children. They receive school uniforms, books, all their school books, and daily meals. Next slide. This is some of the older young women who have independent study time. I can see there's a small child with one of the young women. And there might be one more slide, George. I had added one or two more, but no. Okay. So this is the not quite finished, but it gives you a sense of the fact that Buddhist Global Relief has a presence all over the world, 65 different projects we're in about 20 countries at this point, in Africa, Asia, the US, South America, and Central America, and the Caribbean. So thank you very much for joining us today and for getting us a brief introduction to some of the people that we provide assistance to for improved healthy lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patty, for the nice presentation. And now it's my honor to introduce you to BGR's founder and chairperson, Venbo Bikubodi.
Okay, so again, I welcome everybody who's joining us on this retreat. And so this is the first full session that we're having on Saturday. I will be presenting this morning. Then in the afternoon, we'll have the great pleasure and honor of hosting Bhante Buddharakkhita, a Buddhist monk from Uganda, who I saw was already joining us this morning. And then in the evening, we will have again presentation from Aya Dhammadipa. And so we will begin this session first with a short period of meditation. And so let us take our familiar comfortable sitting meditation position, whichever position you find most comfortable. Whether you're sitting cross-legged or on a straight back chair, the important feature is to keep the back straight and upright, but not stiff and rigid. Just let the weight of the body fall down so that you're supported by the seat. You could put the hands on the lap, right hand over the left with the thumbs lightly touching. Or if you prefer, you could have the hands on the knees or on the thighs. You hold the head with the nose perpendicular to the navel, mouth closed, eyes lightly closed, and the chin can be tucked in just a very slight angle. And then we begin settling into the body, the felt presence, the immediate felt presence of the body in the sitting position. You might begin by feeling the pressure of the buttocks against the seat. And then you can move the attention upward to the abdominal region, then to the chest, then to the neck, and then to the head, and then you can sweep the attention downward from the head all the ways down the entire body, even down the legs to the feet. And then just settle into that, what I call this global awareness of the body in the sitting position in the immediate present. And let the mindfulness sink, spread through the whole body and sink ever deeper into the body. And then you can bring the attention to the process of the in and out breathing. First, in the very general way, be aware of the body on its own, breathing in and breathing out. And then you can choose a specific post of observation for the breath. This could be around the nostrils and upper lip, or it can be the expansion and contraction of the chest as you're breathing in and out. Or it can be the rising and falling of the abdomen in accordance with the in and out breathing. So you choose your post of observation, and as you're breathing in, you try to be attentive, mindful of the entire in-breath. And as you're breathing out, try to be mindful of the entire out-breath as consistently, as continuously as possible. And if you find it helpful, you could use a light mental note when breathing in, the mental note in. When breathing out, the mental note out, out. And as you're attending mindfully to the in and out breathing, naturally thoughts are going to come flowing into the mind, thoughts, memories, plans. But just let them come, let them go, and bring the mind back repeatedly, but gently, not forcefully. Gently and softly bring it back to the in and out breathing. And if you lose complete track of the breath, then as soon as you recognize this, you just make the mental note, thinking, or wondering. Then come back first to the body in the sitting position. Continue to observe the body sitting, until the breath resurfaces on its own, and then go back to following the breath. Okay, we'll continue now to practice in this way in silence for about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. And always try to keep the attention soft, gentle, and receptive, not forcing the mind onto the breath, but just sort of sitting back and watching the breath. Okay, now we're going to change the mode of focus or the focus of our meditation and do just a couple of minutes of the loving kindness meditation. We're going to do this by expanding our consciousness, our mind, our awareness to encompass the entire human population of this earth, bringing all the people in this earth into the range of our heart, and they're generating the wish, may all of the people in this world be well, that is healthy. May they all be truly happy, and may they be safe from all harm and danger. And so we use those three phrases and embracing all people in this world in our hearts. And then from the heart, we generate that wish. May everyone in this world, in every continent, every race, nationality, religion, may they all be well and healthy. Free from all illness, all disease, all kinds of injuries. Then we generate the wish, may all of the people in this world be truly happy, with minds calm and peaceful, free from distress, worry, anxiety. And then we generate the wish, may all of the people in this world be safe, safe from the violence of war, safe from all injury, safe from exploitation and cruelty and violence at the hands of others. May they all live safely, securely, and in peace. Okay, you can now take a couple of deep breaths in and out, in and out, and then you can mindfully open your eyes. Okay, I will now give a little Dhamma talk on the theme. The theme of this retreat is anchoring our lives in the Dharma. And it occurred to me just last night as I was reflecting on this topic that the purpose of an anchor, when it is an anchor on a ship or a boat, is to keep that boat firmly and steadily in place, in a single place, when the boat comes into harbor. So the boat drops an anchor, and the anchor prevents the boat from floating away. And so, in one sense, we rely upon the Dharma to keep our lives anchored, or we anchor our lives in the Dharma or with the Dharma in order to maintain some inner stability, some kind of peace, equanimity, tranquility, in order to face the different challenges, the fluctuations, the vicissitudes of worldly events. But it also occurred to me that we use the Dharma not only as an anchor, but also as a means of navigation. So we anchor our lives in the Dharma, and then we use the Dharma as a way to navigate our lives. We use the Dharma as a guideline for living our lives, or rather a set of guidelines with many different aspects. So the Dharma is not really Buddhism itself as a particular religion, but we could say that the Dharma is the set of principles, guidelines, disclosures that help us to live a life in harmony with the fundamental moral principles, moral law of the universe, and the set of steps, processes, or practices that help to awaken the mind to the meaning of truth and liberate the mind from all of its bonds and fetters. And then thinking further, exploring this theme of anchoring our lives in the Dharma, I find it significant that we're having this retreat in the month of January. And the month of January, it derives its name from the god, I think it's the Roman god, Janus, who faces in two directions. So this is why January is named after Janus, because in the month of January, it looks back to the past, the year that has just come to an end, and we look forward to the year that lies ahead, just as the god Janus looks in those two directions. But also, taking off from this idea of Janus looking in two directions, it seems to us that our own consciousness inherently and intrinsically looks in two directions, not only to the past and the future, but it's so structured that it looks inward, reflecting back upon itself, inward upon itself, and outward towards others. So we look inward towards ourselves, to all of the thoughts, impulses, mental processes occurring within ourselves. All of those have the capacity to be revealed to our consciousness. And our minds also look outward so that we are enmeshed in a vast networks of relationships. So we are enmeshed in very complex, intricate social networks, and we're also enmeshed in the natural world in such a way that really everything we think, every utterance we make, everything we do has some impact, even if it's a very, very slight impact, upon all of the others within the networks to which we're connected. It's like if we have a pond of water, like we have the lake here in the middle. Actually, you could see it just behind me at Zhuangyan Monastery. So there it's frozen over. But if we take a little stone and we throw it into that lake, that when the lake hits the surface of the water, it will set out waves that will start off larger at the place where the stone hits the water, but the impulse set in motion by the stone will travel right across the lake, even to the far edges of the lake. Even if the impulse is very, very slight, the impact very, very slight, but there's some influence of that stone upon all of the water in the lake. And so we have this looking in two directions, inward towards ourself, outward towards the world of other human beings, the world of other sentient beings, and the whole, eventually, ultimately, the whole cosmos in which we live, perhaps even to galaxies far beyond the Milky Way. And so the fact that we face in these two directions places upon us, I would say, a double obligation. Since we look inward upon ourselves, our minds reflect back upon ourselves. This gives us a natural concern for our own well-being and happiness. And this implies that sort of the fundamental urge of our being is to achieve well-being and happiness for ourselves, not in a selfish way, not necessarily in a selfish way. We could say that the selfish mode of seeking well-being is a distortion or perversion of the natural, intrinsic direction of the mind to achieve true, genuine fulfillment, well-being, and happiness, and at the highest point, the ultimate well-being and happiness, which in Buddhism we would call the state of enlightenment or nirvana, the realization of nirvana. But since we also face outward and we find ourselves intimately connected with countless other human beings and other living beings, this places upon us some obligation to promote the good and well-being of others, or at minimum, at least, to avoid inflicting harm and suffering on others. So when we take, for example, the 5 precepts, the way we did last night, that involves 5 steps by which we avoid imposing or inflicting harm or suffering others, to avoid killing, depriving others of their life, or inflicting other types of physical violence, to avoid stealing, respecting the properties of others, to avoid sexual misconduct, to involve interfering with the relationships of others, to abstain from false speech, making a commitment to truthful speech, and to avoid the use of intoxicants to maintain the clarity of our mind. Since when the mind falls under the influence of intoxicants, it can motivate us to engage in various types of harmful conduct. And there is a sutta, interestingly, there's a sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, in the Book of Fours, in which the Buddha speaks of 4 kinds of people found in the world. The Buddha says that there's the kind of person who acts neither for his own good nor for the good of others. In other words, somebody who engages in actions, conduct that's harmful to himself, harmful to others. And then there's a person who engages in conduct that's beneficial to himself but harmful to others. The third person is one who engages in conduct which is harmful to himself but beneficial to others. And the fourth type of person is the one who acts, who lives in a way that is beneficial both to himself and to others. And the Buddha says of these 4 types of persons, the best, the foremost, the chief, the most eminent is the one who lives for his or her own good and for the good and benefit of others. So that is the model that we should aspire to follow, to live for our own good, because we look in upon ourselves and we could recognize within our own mind, our own heart,